Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Courage, Confidence, Connections podcast. I'm Janice Debo, your host. And my guest today is Joseph Wesley. I call him Joe, so I'm sure you can call him Joe too. We're going to have fun today. And he does have his own podcast, and I was in the hot seat recently. So now I kidded him. I'm putting him in the hot seat, and he gets to play the victim. Who knows what'll come up? You know how much fun we have with these podcasts. So, welcome, Joe.
Welcome. I'm already beginning to realize I should have had you be your guest first rather than have you as my guest first. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's always fun. As you know, the name of the podcast is Courage, Confidence, and Connections, based on pretty much everything I do these days. And I love to have my guests share, maybe a little background. So if you want to give our audience a little background about you, and I'm not going to say start at birth, basically starting with a passion and a little history of how you got to where you're doing what you do today.
Okay, I hear that. I guess my passion, I don't know if I have simply one, I hate the word simply only just one, but is storytelling. I like to share dialogue and I like to, if possible, inject humor in that. Because if you don't know that person and you can find a common dialogue that gets one to smile, to laugh, then you've already made a connection. And you talk about, as an example, how do I prefer to be called? And when people ask me that cold turkey, I begin by saying it depends. My wife will either say Joe or Joseph or hey you or whatever it may be. I don't like the Joseph version because I know what's coming in behind that. So if I'm called Joe, it's pretty level for me and I deal better with that name calling. I'll say it like that concept. But I like the issue of telling stories because it allows me hopefully to engage the person I'm dialoguing with, and that person, I say, they may or may not understand a particular word I'm saying, but if the story makes sense or not, then it gives me better clarity to how to come back again. And I guess I'll give you an example. My wife and I have been married for a good number of years. It's a healthy marriage, by the way. I'll qualify that. And in our household, we rush out to work historically, and I always keep three sets of keys. That way, if one key gets lost or misplaced at that moment, 3 minutes before hitting the car, we don't lose or run the risk of being late because here's a spare key. Well, my wife had a challenge of finding her key. I said confidently, not a problem. Don't just pull off the spare. Use that. When you get back home, we'll find the other set of keys. Well, we never found the keys. And now the spare key is in her purse. And I, of course, admonished her about better behavior, responsible, taking care of things. If you lose this third key set, then we're really stuck at this time. Well, and she's somewhat apologetic, and I understand that. What happened was that I discovered one day as I'm putting some clothes in the washer, I had her key in one of my pants pockets. So it was never her fault. I had clearly, in hindsight, borrowed her keys, forgot to give the key back, and now I'm blaming her for it in this male kind of syndrome attitude. Well, the challenge was that how do I come back to her on that? Now, I invoked the storyline in my head that, well, it's time to man up. They talk about lead by example. If you are going to be misogynist, I'm the guy in the household here. So I'm going to say to her, hey, my fault, my bad. I apologize for this. One of having your keys, forgetting about them, and having an attitude behind that when it's none of your fault. So I'm going through this in my head. I heard my mouth saying, oh, so here's my plan. I was going to put the keys back in her purse because women are always losing things in their purse. I figured I could slide by in that. She'd find her keys. Ah, see, it was there all the time. You just never noticed that. Was I'm digging into her purse to put the keys back. She happened to walk in the room. She says, what are you doing in my purse? So that's when I did the man up thing in my head. What we need to do as I'm ruminating about how to approach this, I heard my mouth saying, well, I didn't tell you this, but I'm a compulsive gambler, and I'm looking for $5 to borrow so I can gamble again. She didn't buy the story. I mean, I get my best shot on that. So stories don't always work. She didn't see the humor in it either. But I do enjoy the art of storytelling as a passion.
Oh, that's great. Now, on that note, have you always, even as a kid, where did you have fun telling stories, making up stories? I mean, we kids, we typically did that anyway, but is there a funny story when you were growing up that uh, kind of got the ball rolling on that storytelling, regardless of whether it was true or not?
I don't know that. I think I was born this way. I don't think it was an external feature. I've been taught I'm a little bit different, maybe odd in the more aggressive vernacular. I like puzzle solving and I like connecting dots. And so what the story is connecting a sequence of words to create a picture. And it's a metaphorical concept. Back in the day when they would have like 1,000 dots on a paper, young kids may not know this. You would connect the dots, and as you connected the dots, you'd see an image begin to happen. Then you could color the dots in. It could be a horse and a child, it could be a car, an airplane. I love that stuff. And it might be, I'm always trying to figure out what's the image going to be of 100 dots by the time I get to dot number five. It never worked. I had to almost complete all the dot connections to see, that's the image. That's the story behind the sequence of dots behind it. And that's always intrigued me. How, why, I have no idea. It was just a nature of who I am. So I've developed that form. It's important for me to communicate well by my criteria. And I find storytelling simply provides, you give examples of how the story goes. And I guess a different kind of example. I enjoyed taking German, 2 years of it in undergrad. And I'm going to share four words with you. It's wie geht es Ihnen? And Ihnen is two words. And what it means literally is how goes it with you? And the colloquialism form is how you doing? Well, if you don't understand or know German, either or, no matter how sincere I say wie geht es Ihnen, no matter how heartfelt I mean it, if you don't know the words, it has no value to you.
That's true.
So if I can share a story that the words themselves may not have meaning, but the overall connected dots work, then we have better chance of dialogue and as a result, a better chance of mutual understanding or even disagreement. At least we know why we're disagreeing to decide to work together or not more. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. And I'm curious, what is tell me the nature of your business while I've got you in that hot seat, and then we're going to
Okay,
digress to another topic. So
fair
tell me
enough.
that.
Well, my tagline is, and for those who are not understanding the vernacular, it's what's your pitch or your presentation, your open liner. And I don't claim that I see dead people, but it will help you discover a unique value about yourself that gives you a unique or distinct advantage in your marketplace. And I call that your secret sauce. And the messaging behind this, everything has a backstory. The backstory to that is people can copy or mimic what you do, but they can't fake who you are. And now there's a backstory to that. Most people I know love peanut butter, be it smooth or chunky, it doesn't matter. I can't stand this stuff. And when I was younger, my mother and I would talk about this, and I was her firstborn. So she wanted a healthy vessel for her firstborn child. So she would eat googlops of peanut butter out the Jiffy jar because, hey, it's protein, it's low fat, whatever it may be. Well, I'm convinced in utero it mucked up my DNA sequence, and I've got some antigen antibody conflict going on here. And the
Oh,
moment that stuff touches the tip of my tongue, it's stuck to the roof of my mouth forever, forever syndrome. Now, that peanut butter could come in a jar that wins some sculptured design of the Century Award. It could have a medallion insert of titanium or platinum for organic purity and taste, and maybe even a cute pink ribbon around tied around the neck of it. I don't care how hard you market peanut butter, I just ain't buying it. That's not my sauce preference when you talk about secret sauce. However,
yeah.
I love orange marmalade. And it could be simple toasted bread, butter, slap that stuff on top, maybe over orange, orange, maybe chocolate ice cream.
Oh,
And the concept is everybody has the sauce preference. Everybody has the sauce aura as a karma. And if you're a peanut butter persona trying to chase down orange marmalade types to build your business, that's a lot of headwind you have to tack against. So the better sense you have an understanding of your, I hate to say inner essence because that sounds maybe a little bit existential, but your uniqueness, for lack of a better phrase, and it's different than what's your value proposition, then the more able you are to develop that funnel that captures your ideal market base and maximize the use of your time to build your business. And that's my 30-second elevator pitch.
I love it. And I really do love the peanut butter analogy. That story, when you first told me, I just couldn't stop laughing. It's like it really did mess up your DNA, didn't it?
It did. Well, and so the issue is it helps for people to, what I say may or may not make sense word by word, but
Mhm.
hopefully the story pulls the picture together.
Yeah. And I agree. I happen to like both.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think my mother consumed too much of that, but I think she consumed too much liver and maybe some of those greens that you're familiar with the greens down south. Don't even bring it close to me. And liver, oh my gosh. I s- I
I hear
have
I hear that. And something I learned as a male, and I say this as, deliberately. I shared this story with a woman the other day, and she says, "I thought you tell this to men, really? Stuff like that happens." Women say, "We talk all the time as mothers, sharing stories back and forth. This stuff happens all the time." I didn't know that. So it's sharing the story not only to get my wording out, but also to hear messaging coming back to me. And that's part of my enjoyment of dialogue back and forth. I'm hopefully, if I'm lucky, I'm always learning as I'm talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I as a guest on your podcast, it was very interesting to because you didn't learn much about me at all. And
I disagree, but go ahead.
no, you didn't know much ahead of time.
Fair enough,
Ahead
yes.
of time, ahead of time. No, you did learn a lot because you picked up on things, and what really amazed me is as the interview progressed, and then afterwards, I kept thinking of more and more and more, and I'm like, this is an interesting thing, and it's like a tapestry that you weave when you speak to people. I'm a storyteller too,
Mhm.
and so matter of fact, my last guest is a film producer, and he's a storyteller.
Mm.
Getting a little theme going here, storytelling.
Excuse me, I'm kind of, I get caught up on wording and I hear something that doesn't click in my head. He's a film producer, but he also tells stories. Don't the two work together in almost a seamless method?
Well,
So
they do.
I don't get the but part.
Well, no, he loves to tell. He's a writer. I mean, he writes obviously his own films, his script,
Right? Hmm.
and but he's written songs and so the storytelling does come naturally. But I'm sure there are people who write that are not storytellers. I know that.
Sure, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really a fun interview. Back to you. Uh, I'm wondering. I think people listening to you need to know more about your particular podcast and how you came up with that concept and how that kind of thing. I think it's a fascinating concept. Can you share a little bit on how that progressed for you?
Well, thank you, and I'd be happy to. I'm laughing at myself here. Here's the issue. Let me rephrase it. I have this, I like to consider myself 99% logic and reasoning, like Dr. Spock of Star Trek, with only a 1% total id syndrome. And like Freud says, this wild and crazy thing roaming around in my head. Some people who know me say, well, Joe, I think it's more like 40, 50% id syndrome, but that's a different story. And it does everything it can to muck up my lifestyle and just disconfabulate my logic and reasoning environment. That being said, when I talk about discovering and defining what's your secret sauce, what's your fingerprint, your unique value that nobody else can lay claim to, because people talk about what they do. I'm the best. I work very hard. And the smarter ones will say, creative ones perhaps, I really care about my clients. Well, who's going to admit they don't care about their clients? The challenge is no matter what you say, other people can say even more than what you're saying. So many business owners I've bumped into who confide in me say, first off, people treat me like I'm a commodity
Mm,
that and negotiable at that because they can look up in the yellow pages that's dating me in the Google search, whatever it may be, somebody else who says the exact same thing better for cheaper. And so now everybody wants to negotiate my price down. So I can provide somebody a value that nobody's can lay claim to because of your experience, your lifestyle. So it goes back to my program. I realized I began not walking the talk. I'm making claims and I'm not showing who I am as opposed to what I do. So I began this hot seat challenge with the title, the tagline is for 30 minutes, are you prepared to sit in a hot seat to discover a unique aspect of your secret sauce? And I say aspect because we're talking 30 minutes here, not 2 or 3 months. So we're getting boiling water, salt and pepper, not the sage, not the cumin, not the oregano, not the basil, that sort, so the tomato sauce. And I
mm,
begin by asking you what's your favorite pastime, because that goes to your passion, which is unique to your experience. Now, I could say, tell me about yourself. Well, geez, I'm in my third marriage. I bought and sold 3 businesses. I've got 5 grandkids. No, no, just too much. I don't want to hear it. And
mm,
asking different questions over maybe 20 minutes of that 30-minute session, I get an image or a picture of who you are, connecting the dots, which I think I do decently well.
mm.
And then we're talking to your business. You could be an overhead garage door repair person, but if there's something distinct value about you, your peanut butter or your marmalade flavor, you're going to draw clients to you over your competition. However, I will always ask before we go that direction, am I far off in my summary of how I see you in this relatively brief time period? And I've gotten 3 responses back on average. Actually, no, Joe, you're spot on. I hadn't thought about that before. You're the first one to bring that up. Could you tell me more about what I said? And because I want to take notes on that, not because I think they enjoy hearing it. I think because was spot on who they are.
Right.
And so far I've been batting 1,000% on that. Odds are, am I keeping this up or not, the purity of my program. And by the way, it's not scripted, it's not pre-rehearsed. But if I can't walk my talk, and I say, tell my guests, if I can't bring or show value what I can do as a business, how can I convince you I could bring that same value on behalf of your business? So it's something I had to stick my neck out there to show my style as opposed to simply talk about it. So that's my 30-minute program.
I think it's absolutely brilliant and very engaging. What you do is really intuitive, Joe. It's very intuitive. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's just amazing to me how you can do in 30 minutes. I opened my eyes to things from your questions that were not, they were buried. There were things that I hadn't thought about, things that I wasn't remembering. And as I said, I went back and started journaling after our recording and went, oh my goodness. And it just laid out one after the other. So I would say, yes, beyond a doubt, the secret sauce is amazing. Now, what is your secret sauce? Not your business.
Um,
What is
I
your
hear
secret
that.
sauce? I
Well,
already
you make a good distinction. My secret sauce, you say, not your business. That is exactly what we're talking about here. Because if I talk my business, it's about what I do. It's
Mhm.
not about who I am.
Right.
So I'm going to share something that I've never shared in mixed company before, but this is a broadcast, and you did ask the question.
Hmm.
And I tell people this may not be obvious to you, but I'm not blue-eyed, blonde-haired. And normally get a raised eyebrow, just like you did, kind of. I had really, yeah. Well, it's not obvious, is it? I did say that. So the point is, I already stand out. I don't have to worry about how do I stand out from people around me. My challenge is how do I make my standout twisted around to a unique value concept? So it's not enough to simply be different. You also have to be of unique value to your particular market. It could be peanut butter, it could be orange marmalade, or anything else out there also. Mother Nature blessed me with some skills I can take advantage of. So when I involve myself in pretty much anything I do, there's a mantra, internal mantra. It always has to be one different. It has to be better and value to your intended audience. And again, I don't know what that might be. And we don't discover that perhaps more into the 30-minute engagement. And I'm amazed that of the quality of people that after 30 minutes, I didn't realize. And I say that in a manner that, no, I don't pre-rehearse, but this began during the height of COVID when we had to still market ourselves not being around human beings physically.
Mhm.
And I had started with people I knew. Maybe the year and a half into COVID, we had weekly meetings as a group. We had our little segments together, and I thought I had an awareness of them. Well, when they became guests, because many of them were my first invites, because I hadn't done this before, that I was learning that I had just seen the tip of the iceberg. What is it, 0.1% or what, 3%, whatever it may be. The value these people have are absolutely astronomical. And that same thing applied to you, Janice, that's what makes fun for me is I'm asking questions. It's like watching one of my favorite movies, and I don't know where it's going to go. And the I have to depend on my ability to ask questions on what I've heard. It's not just what I've heard. When I'm listening, I'm looking at your body language, I'm looking at your inflection, your tone of voice, I'm looking at your eye movement. There are a lot of little cues, visual, in addition to the auditory side, that hit me. And so, based on something you've said, let me go in that direction. And it kind of pulls together in its own value. And I say it's a 20-minute, 10-minute, or 20-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute total. But sometimes I'll stop and I always take notes. Sometimes I stop 8, 9 minutes into the program. The person who's spoken with me, like yourself, they provided so much information. I've used up my paper. I don't flip it over to make notes on the other side because it'd be too much rustling of paper. Hey, look, I've got enough. Let's allow me to start sharing it back to you. So what I enjoy is discovering what I consider unique value in the people that I have dialogue with. And quite frankly, music to my ears is when someone says to me with a raised eyebrow, nobody's ever brought that up before. And if I hear that, I get an internal grin and an external grin also. I've forgotten your question. I hope that answers it.
I don't know. You and I both go down rabbit holes, so who knows?
Fair enough.
No, I think you did. I'm wondering what what keeps you motivated now as you know the Courage Confidence Connections is the name of the podcast. Looking at those three words, what stands out in your life that those represent?
Fear. And part of my inner essence, let me phrase that. They say in psychiatry, everybody has their neuroses. And if you replace one aspect of neuroses moment, they'll just read, as humans, will just fill another slot into that because we got to keep our things full here, our plate full. Well, I guess one of my core neuroses, I'm sure I have multiple, is a compulsive need to know, to deal with my insecurities. So if I go into a new environment, what are the rules? What are the regulations? What can I do or not do? Because I don't want to make a mistake, certainly where it may be of harm to me, the people who depend on me. So I'm a anal compulsive student of where I am. So part of that entails me to be observant,
Mhm.
to ask questions, and as they say, connect the dots. And once I get a sense, then we're back to the concept of my sense, and I won't say comfort because that implies complacency. Because once I become comfortable, I don't trust myself. As I said, fear that okay, I got this covered. I can now relax, and the world just passes me by. I
Yeah.
prefer the C-letter words of confidence based on competency. And I don't, again, I get cobwebs in my head very quickly if I don't watch myself. So I always try to find something to challenge myself, to keep my head cleared out as best I can. And I like puzzle solving. I like problem solving, which is pretty much the same thing when I think about it. So this is a natural flow for me that I get to engage, and let me rephrase that. I said earlier, I maybe not have said this. I'll give you an example. I was a nerdy kind of guy, a bookworm, nerdy kind of guy back in school. And nerdy is a polite version of a bookworm, you might say. I'm far enough removed now, I can say I was really a social retard. And I was so bad at it. I was in my senior year of college. I was on a third or fourth date with a girl, and she didn't ask me. She told me, "You don't date very often, do you?" And I thank you for being sensitive, Janice. I really appreciate that. And I said, actually, no, I don't. And she asked me why not. Well, she wasn't being vindictive or sarcastic or malicious. We were on our third or fourth date, so at least we had a beginning of a relationship. And I felt a sincere question deserved an honest answer because she wants to learn more about me. And I thought about it momentarily because I hadn't been asked that before. And I said after a few moments, it's like going for that first kiss. Do I kind of stretch out and sneak up on it or just go ahead and jump her bones? And I says, I'm not a bone jumper. That's just not who I am. But as close as I was as a senior in undergrad, as a 13-year-old boy, I intuitively understood if I wanted a girl to like me, I'd carry her books for her. And the concept is if she likes the action, she like the perpetrator of the action. So it's again, and you might ask, when do you start selling versus networking? To me, it's the same thing. It's a continuum. And the moment she says, Joe, I'd be happy for you to carry my books for me, we already have some networking and marketing value here. And the key is at what point do you monetize it, perhaps, but it's still seamless flow of interaction. I'll say it like that.
Mhm.
So the art form of sharing a story, if the story connects between the two people, even though the words may be out of whack here or there, you talk about confidence. I can't read the three C's you have again. What are
Courage,
they again?
courage.
Courage, confidence, and connections.
Mhm.
Well, to me, the connections are the networking aspect of it. I think you build confidence as you lucky enough to learn, you test yourself, you challenge yourself. Again, for me, it was, oh, I want to go out and exercise today. Another story. I, I'm a biology major. I understand the value of exercise for your mind, your spirit, your body. I hate the stuff. And when I see TV programs of a group of people doing whatever they're doing physically and they're grinning, now I get the concept of endorphin release, mutually shared by the room is just oozing in your pores. It does not work for me. I can't stand this stuff. But if I want to be a hunk, I gotta exercise. And if I don't, then I become some geezer, heaven forbid, prematurely aged and rejected. So what motivates me is fear. I have some intrinsic interest in clarity. But what I do once I commit, and it's back to again the semantics issue, and I had to write it down because I forget this. I think when I do something, it can't simply be an event. It must be an experience because people have events all the time in their lives and they're inclined to get them mashed together. But to create an experience, I have my three-letter E's, and they have to be when I present an engagement with somebody, it has to be educational, it's to be entertaining, and it has to be engaging. If I can provide those three things, then the person will walk away smiling, feeling good about something they've learned. And that will much likely stick with them than an event episode. And by the way, if I can provide that, now our networking effort has had additional value also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember us having discussions on those. Um, it's it's interesting to look a little deeper into somebody's life based on a story, isn't it? And you are so gifted at that.
Well, thank you.
I think it's funny that you said you the cobweb story. Cobwebs, that's very interesting to me. How because our brains are meant to be used. So I guess when it's downtime for you, you just let the cobwebs build and just let it go, right? Is it easier?
Well, part of my weirdness is the wellness types. I got nothing against them. It's just I'm more left brain than right brain. Talk
Yeah.
about when you get up in the morning, have a peace about yourself. I'm not being silly. I really respect the industry and I understand the value of the messaging, having self-awareness so you're not caught up reacting against yourself more than you'd like to believe. I get up in the morning, I get my phone out and I do puzzles.
Right.
YouTube, I have Apple computer and there's a news program. You can do puzzles that you have to, they give you a short example, another puzzle they give random words or glips of words together, get that together. Because that once I'm away, 3 inches away from the bed, that first 3 inches, it could be a challenge for me. But but once I'm 3 inches away, I'm good to go. No coffee, no this or that. But I do the puzzles because I want my mind to kick in. I'm drawn to that. And people will look at me like you're crazy, but it's exercise for me and it's stimulating for me. And if I can, the better I can solve puzzles, the better at a metaphorical sense I can work with my guests, my clients to be. So they kind of go hand in hand. But I realize if I don't keep doing it, besides it keeps drawing me, so it's a fear, hunger, desire, any conglomerate of that.
Yeah.
I feel good when I'm actually engaging with people, sharing stories, sharing discovery.
I think that's fantastic. And we're going to wrap it up here shortly. And I would recommend anyone reach out to Joe that you think you're willing to sit in that hot seat and let him explore what your secret sauce is. It is fun. Don't tell him too much ahead of time because he doesn't like
I
that.
don't want to know anything at all about who you are, right? It's not even not too much, nothing at all. Can I
No,
do a
nothing
little,
at all.
can I do a plug here? People might ask, well, what does it cost me? It's an hour of your time.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, to be blunt, if you're not worth an hour of your time, then don't call me. I have no interest. For those who have interest, certainly contact Janice, and because she runs a very smart program, and I'm sure she'd be more than happy to refer you to me
Yes.
in terms of further interaction.
Absolutely. I love the referral system that we've got going on and the exchange of podcasts. I think these are awesome to help each other and to
Mhm,
promote what we do. But more than that, we both focus on who are you
mhm.
versus what do you do. That value is priceless.
True.
Learning who you are if you don't know, and most of us don't for a long time. And I so appreciate your taking time today, Joe. Let me let me say it here. I'm starting to lose traction myself. Maybe cobwebs are building.
Well, it's my charm. I get that all the time. Don't worry about it. People, women become disconfabulated. I get
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Well, this is a free flow podcast. We're not strict on this one.
Fair enough.
Yes. So Joe's contact information will be at the end of the podcast, as well as once it's published, it will be available along with the recording.
Okay.
Feel free to reach out to either one, both of us. We'd love to talk to you. We both have hot seats, they're just different.
True. True.
Yes, yes. Again, thank you so much, Joe. You are fun. Every conversation we have is fun.
Thank you
And
for having me as a guest, for challenging me and allowing me to flow. I don't do that talking about myself very easily. You've made that so nice for me. Thank you.
you're welcome. And you did tell me that ahead of time. So, in any case, I thank you, listeners and watchers, if you're listening or watching. Both are available for tuning in to Courage, Confidence, Connections podcast. Again, this is Janice Debo. We're signing off and we will see you next time. Bye bye for now.